Changing tape right in the middle of the mix.
Here we go.
Yeah. If he turns around again, I'll zoom in on him.
If you could do a head and foot thing, that'd be...
Well, now I'll get back over in the middle. I can't zoom in on you over there without moving things. Bye.